He is currently the Director of Academic Division and the Director of Student Life Division in the Singapore Institute of Management, where he is responsible for the holistic educational development of its 19,000 undergraduate and postgraduate students studying in over 70 academic programs with 10 reputable universities. Prior to his current role, he was the director of Singapore Polytechnic's Business School and the School of Digital Media and Information Technology. He has more than 30 years of research and teaching experience at universities in Australia, China, Hong Kong, Singapore, and the United Kingdom, and has served as external examiner, consultant, academic advisor, and board member for a number of Singapore and overseas educational institutions. He is a fellow of the Singapore Computer Society and is a member of its executive council. He is also a fellow of CPA Australia and is a member of its education committee. He is also a member of the Technical Skills Accelerator Committee of the Infocom and Media Authority of Singapore. In 2012, he received his Long Service Award from the Singapore Ministry of Education. He holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Education from the University of Nottingham in United Kingdom, Master in Internal Auditing and Management from the University of London, also in United Kingdom, and a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Accounting from the University of Western Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Timothy Tan. A round of applause.
Good morning and welcome to Singapore. Warm welcome to all of you. First of all, when I was first invited by Dr. Jacobs to be a keynote speaker in this conference, I took the opportunity to go to PAIR's website and take a look. And I was so impressed that although PAIR is only 11 years in history, but the research activities, the conferences, and the platform it provides for both experienced and early career researchers is impressive, commendable. With that, when I was also given the theme, the conference theme today about transforming society through research, and I pointed upon the theme, and it is so apt that this indeed is a very aspirational theme for all researchers. Whether again you are experienced or you just started your career. So thank you very much. It is indeed a privilege to be here to share my thought with all you regarding this topic and this theme. So a very quick introduction, okay. So transforming society through research is the main theme that today and tomorrow we will share our views, share our work, and communicate and seek input from each other. I put a sub-theme to this main theme is about defining research, refining, measuring, monitoring, and assessing research impact. Now, this is a very, very complex issue. Number one, even definition. What do we mean by impact? Without impact, we can't expect transformational changes. But exactly what impact we are talking about, and how can we measure it? Is there any generally accepted evaluation framework of some sort that allow us to benchmark each other's contribution, each other's impact, and impact to whom? So that is the sub-theme. So for the next half an hour or so, I will share some of my thought and the challenge I think we all face in looking at all this. So just now, thank you very much for a quick introduction. If I move on and I maybe take a couple of minutes to introduce give you some idea about the institute. Just now we mentioned about Singapore Institute of Management. Singapore Institute of Management was set up by Singapore government more than 53 years ago to be exact, under our Economic Development Board. The main mission of SIM then was to uplift the managerial competency. We need to train more and more managers. 50 odd years ago, Singapore is a very, very young country. From one end to another end, comparing your country, just give you a sense of how big this country is. From one end to another end, perhaps less than 2 hours of journey, you already completed, from one end of Singapore to another. Being a very small country, we have 5 million plus of residents and 3 million plus are Singaporean. The others are all our mobile workforce, experts to come from different parts of the world. I myself is an immigrant. I was not born here. I was from Hong Kong, but Singapore government offered me study, called a scholarship, allowed me to study in higher education, and after that, I'm obliged to come back to serve my bond, and thereafter I decided to stay on. So this is a very small country, 5 million plus people, 3 million plus are Singaporean, the others are all over. We need all types of expertise to help us to build, to fit into different industry. Later on, I look at also in the research area as well. We need a lot of foreign experts to help us to build our research competency as well. And the government has been putting in a lot of resources, financial resources, infrastructure, to give a vibrant platform where researchers have the opportunity to grow. Now back to SIM, we are set up by the government 50 plus years ago, and within the ecosystem of SIM, we have higher education, we have middle school, we also have platform to train entrepreneur. So we have an entrepreneur platform as an incubation center. We also provide professional development for both continuing education and pre-work education. So we have more than 10 university partners, the biggest one being University of London, that we have partnership with them for more than 3 decades, 30 plus years. Our MIT, University of Buffalo State, University of New York. We bring the degree program here with the faculty member resident in Singapore, and we provide another layer of holistic education, co-curriculum activity for the student, mainly focusing on how to help them for employment and employability. A small country like Singapore. I make a quote here. This is from our Deputy Prime Minister. He said, R&D is an investment in our own future. It is an expression of belief in Singapore and Singapore's future. If we want to be a knowledge-based economy, which drive on innovation and enterprise, we must build this knowledge base on which we can build the future of Singapore. Then R&D is where we have to invest. So that foundation is important. Without R&D, innovation and enterprise may be challenging to have. So with that, R&D put a very central place in a small country like Singapore. And if you look at the budget, over the year, more resources, and this is only the public funding. In Singapore, perhaps 40+% are from Singapore government funding, another 40-50% from the private sector. If I'm just looking at the public factor, every 5 years we have an R&D plan for the nation at the national level. This national plan. So back in 1995, our national plan, we set aside 2 billion. 2 billion is, if I divide 1.4 US dollars, maybe it's around 1.5 billion of US dollars. And that is the money we set aside. The next 5 years, we doubled it. We top up with another 2 billion, I think, of dollars. Now that is a Singapore example. If I look at the rest of the world, on the world average, our R&D expenditure, if I look at GDP as a percentage, has been growing. And that is a worldwide phenomenon. So different countries, of course, have slightly different priority and different investment proportion. But generally speaking, we can see more and more public money, tax revenue, go into R&D. And that is, you will see that again, the number has gone up. So the funding has gone up. The talent pool has also gone up. So more and more emphasis now put into research. This increase in public funding, this increase in number of researchers has also now sparked a growing interest in demonstrating the impact and the outcome of research. In the past, perhaps research is really restricted within the academia. In the university, we spend resources, talent, manpower, capacity building in research. But more and more, when public money come into it, when there is a bigger pool of researchers, now we started to put more attention on the accountability issue. Apart from the learning, yes, researcher, we build talent, we build capability, capacity, and that is the learning part. But we need to be accountable for the resources given to us. And to be accountable, it comes into the assessment. It comes into establishing guidelines to direct future investment. Who should get a bigger share of research funding? We need to have certain benchmark. We need to have some measurement. And later on, I talk about the measurement. It can come in the form of quantitative. Later on in this research event, I understand Dr. Jacobs will guide us through a couple of plenary sections about some research related to the measurement as well, for the quantifiable part. Learn from the community of how we can improve our impact of our research. So what is research? So all of us are engaged in research one area or the others. So this is a very common, if people approach you, hey, I'm a researcher, what do you do? And typically, from a very layman term, we say, hey, we do systematic inquiry that investigate hypotheses. We want to suggest new interpretation of data and text and pose new questions for future research. And typically we say, we ask questions that nobody has asked before. Or questions people have asked, but no conclusive outcome has arrived. Or we challenge some of the current thoughts, current policy. We do the necessary work to find the answer. And importantly, we need to communicate. No one do a research, end up putting his own drawer. We share our finding, right? And we want to connect to our community. So typically, this is what we do as a researcher. So according to OECD, he talk about research, and the research, we find the definition a little bit. And there are indeed different types of researches. One type is the basic research. Basic research, in a nutshell, is experimental or theoretical work, undertaken primarily to acquire new knowledge. You expand the universe of knowledge. But whether or not there is any particular application, it need not be consideration. Good if you can apply it. If you can't apply it, it is fine, because we are trying to expand our current knowledge about it. It is basic research, and typically done by research university. In Singapore, even our university, Singapore is small. The government put in the money,
But within the university sector, or even the whole higher education sector, we have a couple of universities are comprehensive research university. We have a few universities are really teaching university. The research is very much applied research. I'll talk about it. They don't do basic research. They will not ask questions like how the universe begin. How did the universe begin? The government is not giving money to the university to answer this question. You can do on your own free time. No resources given to you. But a couple of universities focus on teaching and apply. Many a time there are basic research done. How can we productize it? How can we commercialize it? A lot of people have a lot of patent, but what can you use the patent if you don't further develop it into applications where the society benefits? There is no point just file a patent for the sake of filing a patent. You're using taxpayers' money. So yes, certain universities focus very much on the expansion of a knowledge and theoretical basis. One group of universities are very much on teaching the student and applying the theory to come with application. So one form of research is we can't even we call it pure. Just now I say basic research. Basic of research, whether you have application in mind, it doesn't really matter. But pure, you really explicitly say, I don't have application. I just want to find out how the universe begins. Right? I don't know how I'm going to apply it. It's fine. Apply. Apply to the sense that, yes, maybe someone do a smart card research, come up with this smart card idea and theory or whatsoever. But where can I apply it? Use it for what? Keeping personal information? For security access? I have laser. Laser used for what purpose? That is more applied. So one type of research is really original investigation undertaken in order to acquire new knowledge and directed primarily towards a specific practical aim or objective. Generalized application. And particularly in the social science and the education field, we come across even people call researchers action research. And that's even more specific. It's immediately application of certain idea, certain concept, and immediately I want to apply it in a local context. It may not apply to the whole global area. I'm not talking about the whole education in the whole universe. I'm talking about education in my country, in my province, in my town, or to the effect that in my school itself. So that is action driven for an immediate application. Now, so research is not one particular type you can classify as research. Different purpose, you have different type of research, each of which can bring about impact, can bring about transformation in the society. UK University Research Excellence Framework talk about impact. Now I introduce the word impact because if I look at the definition of the impact, according to the UK, it says it has an effect on change or benefit to the economy, society, culture, public policy or services, health, the environment, or quality of life beyond academia. Very encompassing. Beyond academia, there can be many different types of effects, and this effect transforms society. Not surprising because they are the funding agency, right? I don't want you to just spend the money, then spend a couple of hours, publish, and close it. They want you to bring real benefit to society, culture, policy, etc. But still economy, right? Bring the economy up. So early draft, I use the word all, but maybe all, I can't speak for all, but I think most of us want our research to have impact beyond self, beyond peers, to the society at large. Right? So one potential impact just now we talked about. One, of course, is human understanding and worldview. It really, the knowledge helps us to understand better, allow us to build and sustain and develop our individual and society's understanding of our world and our place in it. Of course, the second thing, more pragmatic, even in Singapore particularly, we live in a very pragmatic world, is about wealth and prosperity. But that is the economic part. The economic part. Research-based knowledge and ability open material prospect for sustaining and increasing the well-being of people and society. And the third one is about decision-making, about policy. Right? We help our leaders to make, or even government, to make the right policy through our research and research findings. And of course, from a practical point of view, the practice development that allow us to build competency and professional practice. Now, don't go beyond, we can even think beyond the traditional training of PhDs. Right? Sometimes the effect can be indirect. If I supervise a postgraduate and the postgraduate gets his master's degree, he is conferred a PhD, some of them actually leave the academia. Some of them go to the industry, work in the government body. But indirectly, they contribute. Through their years of training in research, they go to the industry and add on to the competency of the industry. So that is also indirect. So of course, in fact, many of us, after a while, we really have no time, no energy, particularly many of us are involved in administrative and management. My research productivity go to almost zero nowadays. Yeah. But I still manage to supervise students. I still manage to apply, and many of my research experience help in my work. And that is the indirect contribution. Small impact, but indirect in the practice development dimension as well. So research impact can be multi-dimensional, multifaceted. It can be social, it can be cultural, it can be environmental, and also it can be economic. So it is not one aspect, but it's multi-dimensional. Then how to assess research impact? How do we assess it? Why do we do it? I mentioned about there is such a need. We want to know whether our research is effective, and we have to be accountable to our organization, our government, our funding agency. Now, traditionally, our emphasis is on quantitative measurement. There's nothing wrong with that, and because many of this is very, very objectively measured, quantifiable. So people may look at how much cash support you get from the end user, how much funding you come from the government, about your end user sponsor grant and research commercialization income, etc. From organization, from a university level, people may give a point. And internationally, when you look at the league table, the ranking, people sometimes use this quantifiable measure to give score to our university's research capability. Is internationalization, and university will be ranked accordingly. There's impact, right? Because the higher the university rank, the more chances you are able to attract talent, researcher, attract funding, attract good students. So many universities are keen to be listed higher in a university ranking tables. Now there are a lot of research tools, database tools. I think the expert, Dr. J.P. is here, so I will refrain from talking too much about that. Later on, we will talk about publishable research paper, talking about creating indexes, etc. Maybe we need to, is the power on? You help me to close the window. So, two types. One is about fundamental understanding, the pure research, the basic research. One is about practical use. your applied research, your action research, etc. So 2 different types. Now, knowing our theme about research, then the other part of our statement is transforming society. That is very aspirational. Don't lose heart and say, hey, I'm just an early career researcher. After looking at this title and looking what I've done, no, it doesn't seem that I am able to transform a society. Transform is not incremental change. The word transforming means fundamental changes, big changes. I may be shy and look at it, no, I don't think my research can transform. I hardly transform my city, let alone the society. That is very aspirational. But there is pathway to it. Right? As we accumulate, later on at the end part of it, research is no longer done individually. Many times we build research community. And if the research community is done in an effective, efficient, or even economical way, yes, the collective effort can be transforming in nature. And that's the reason why I start off by looking at PAIR itself. It's ambitious, but it is really a platform that individual of us may not be able to achieve much, but as a community, by sharing our insight, by sharing our effort, perhaps the synergic effect, the sum is bigger than the individuals, right? So what kind of research leads to transformation in society then? Okay, but there are certain drawbacks. Using certain typical citation, it is acceptable, but it is not perfect. Now, some of the drawbacks using very traditional quantifiable citation index, etc., is that it can be unfair to certain disciplines. In the medicine, in the science, typically the project is bigger in quantum, equipment, facilities, and typically the research is done by a group of researchers. So then typically, in terms of output, they may have more paper, more so-called impact, right? Emphasis on the global impact undermine the importance of regional and cultural research. There is favor for research that focus on globally. Then older publication obviously will get more citation. If your publication just come out, citation-based evaluation tend to favor established researcher. Yeah, you are a guru on this name. When you submit 2 papers, chances are that well-established researcher may be selected. Article may be considered important in the field, attract many citations, but deploy low-quality research. There are also criticisms saying that citation practice have been found to reflect gender and ethnic bias. Right? There are also reported that English language articles are cited more often than non-English type of papers. And again, certain journals will favor certain discipline. People mention from the literature, it say that sometimes it can be manipulated as well. An example cited that a physics professor divided up the finding of his research so that each of his students recorded results separately, and each of the 450 resulting paper also contained his name. So straight away, if I have a team of one particular project, I divide it into 6 different parts. Each of you will just look at one aspect. Then I would have many papers to submit it because each of you may submit a couple of papers, and every paper I put my name in. Then immediately, in terms of publication, in terms of citation, so it can be manipulated. More importantly, people find out there's no direct link. We cannot automatically assume that paper with high scientific quality and link directly to societal use. And there were cases cited that original research into apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. It is high quality, but there's no measurable impact on health at all after 20 odd years of its publication. There is no impact in the real use at all. And there are some research in low, relatively not high quality, because they talk about the cost effectiveness of different incontinency paths. I don't know whether you feel so excited that this is breaking the boundary of all the knowledge universe by looking at this particular topic. So people find that yes, the research in this topic is not seen to be high value by the scientific community, but it has immediate and important societal usage as well. So I'll talk a little bit later, a bit more on the changes. On the changes of landscape, the focus shifts a little bit. In the past, it's really purely academic quality, but we shift a little bit more to the societal use. Who will benefit it? And when the shift moves to this direction, and particularly the funding agency, I'm not too familiar with the Filipino environment, how your agency look at research and how the funding will go about. But at least in Singapore, in UK, in Australia, we see that the funding agency is really looking at societal use and benefit on top of the academic impact. Academic impact is taken. Yes, it needs to have quality, but beyond academic, they're looking at something extra as well. Okay, so there are problems, however. When we measure impact, we talk about whether impact to the society, to economy, to the environment. But the challenge is how? How can you be sure that there is a cause and effect? It is really this piece of paper, individual piece of paper, related to something else. People say we are now in the industry 4.0, right? The first time we talk about printing. Wow, that printing lead to knowledge making available, accessible to many, right? When you have the printing machine, compare without the printing machine, how can you transmit knowledge? Printing machine have a lot of impact. Then industrialization, machine, automation. The third one comes to internet. Wow, everybody knows, yes, internet definitely have its impact. The fact that you are aware, I'm aware of this conference, you can imagine without internet, how can we communicate, right? So it is the connectivity, the impact on the connectivity, global connectivity that people are talking about. Another level, what are the big things that will be impact? I don't know how any one of us here are looking at blockchain. Blockchain. I tell my student, blockchain, if you look at blockchaining, that perhaps will have a tremendous impact in the society as the next wave. Internet allows us to be connected, but it is not connected in a trust environment. Right? Sometimes I don't know whether things are fake, don't know I can rely on certain information. If online I give you a certificate, is still that certificate valid as anybody have changed it before? With blockchaining, you're allowed to keep that level of trust because of the built-in mechanism. Now, but many a time we don't know whose piece of paper lead to the ultimate transformation. So cause and effect is a problem. Number two, attribute to who? It's a whole community at the end, right? You have 50% impact, 20% attribute to you. How can I attribute to whom? And the internationalization problem as well, because many R&D is not done within one institution. Then the evaluation time scale, how long? Too short a time, perhaps impact is not there. So how long do I have to wait until I measure the impact? So there are problems. I'm not saying that it's an easy question. We know we need to measure the impact, whether it's qualitatively, quantitatively, but there are problems. Purely quantitative, purely on citation, yes, this is a benchmark, but it is not without its problem. If you look at other aspects of impact, then there are also some inherent problems within it. At this junction, I will also take a look at some development in the knowledge production, and I go back to the research impact. Now, in the academic, in the university higher education part, there's a report to talk about different mode of knowledge production. In the early mode, we call it the mode 1, the ivory tower type. Come to the second mode, is called engaged university, and the third one is the whole innovation ecosystem. Allow me to expand on this. Mode 1. Mode 1 of production of knowledge research is really linear. I'm from a university. I do my basic research. After that, someone applied it. And after that, the firm, the industry, take it up and experiment it. That is very sequential, linear. That is the early stage research university. My job is just do this. I filed the patent, I done my job. Is there another institution, research related, pick it on? And finally, let the industry decide whether they want to use it to make a product, commercialize it. From here, it is really discipline by discipline. And the key thing is about this type of research is very traditional. Quality research, talk about research excellence. The peer reviewed it, and they decide which one is considered quality, high impact. They don't worry too much about the downstream. Then the mode 2. The mode 2 come to, we call it the engaged university, that is non-linear, socially distributed, organizational diverse, and application oriented.
Wow.
And it demands social accountability and receptivity. Because we know if I'm doing a social science research, I should know if I do an observation research, maybe my presence actually change the whole dynamic of observation as well. So it is not just purely one single discipline. We see the effect, many of the researchers, the high impact, we actually see multidisciplinary because you have different perspective. If I'm a purely engineering, purely technologist, if I research together with a social scientist, he can give me the sociology view perspective into perhaps the product I am researching on, the service I'm researching on, and they want it to be collaborative. And he focused on the interaction between the user, the ultimate user, and the researcher. It's not linear. You get the input from the research user as well. Then come the mode 3. The mode 3 say that these two forms coexist. You have mode 1, you still have mode 2, you coexist. You can think of research, a big research that can have global reach, but you can start focusing on your local. And you can think about the term they call it co-optation. Cooperative, at the same time competitive. You are my competitor, but it doesn't stop me from cooperating with you. So even among research institutions, I'm a research institution, you are also a research institution. By nature, we are competitor. But if we cooperate, there are areas that while we compete, but there is definitely area that we can collaborate to bring in common good. And this mode 3 lead to someone mentioned about a helix. It started with a triple helix. Triple helix actually talk about, yes, I have university, they come to the knowledge production, you and I, we do the research, and we link with the industry and the business, right? We talk about how to improve the environment. Is there a community allow you to test-base your research idea, do some prototype, and is the government behind the support with infrastructure, with funding? The power of these three together. More than that, from a triple helix, the researchers say, yes, now we come up with the fourth dimension of the helix. And that is where the civic society, the people, they are at the end, the receiving part. Yes, the government can provide the funding. Maybe healthcare, the hospital come in, the researcher comes in. But can the patient also comes in, right? Because the patient is ultimately the one get impacted. So the power of it is, if you engage the people, the culture, the technology, that linkage will allow a better impact. Because at the end, all these relevant input are considered in your course of research. So from triple helix, they go into the quadruple, together with the society, not just the government, not just the industry, not just the university. So academy, industry, public government work together with the civic engagement, the society, and someone even propose, can you add yet one more direction, is the environment. Consider the natural environment as well. Don't neglect it. Sustainability. And I believe there's one of the paper we talk about sustainable development. Right? Now, with these kind of changes, then again we go back to their research impact measurement. Right? People start to think there's another element that now people started to measure impact is to case study. Right? Through case study. In this case study, it is actually supplement the quantitative study. Quantitative again, yes, your paper has been published, cited, your paper has been presented, you are on social media, there is X number of people download your, from ResearchGate or whatever, download your document. That is the impact academically you can demonstrate quantitatively. But at the same time, from the case study, what kind of policy has been impacted by it? What kind of new movement, new civic engagement come out as a result of your paper? Have you managed any talk, any seminar? Are you engaged, invited to share your finding to a society, to an association, etc.? So a case study, now I mentioned about that because then when you embark on the next research, perhaps you better remind. At the end, who are my users? At the end, am I aim to influence policy? Am I aim to address certain economic issue? Rather than curiosity. Now, I'm not saying that, in fact, a lot of research start from curiosity. I'm just curious. But beyond the curiosity, at the end, who benefited from your research?
Yes. Who benefits?
Okay, so in the interest of time, I'll be perhaps leave 5-10 minutes for this certain Q&A. Typically, academic impact, we look at scholarship. This is well established, right? Well established in terms of your bibliometric indication, in terms of how many people download from your open access repositories, how many citations you have made, what is the acknowledgement, how much funding, grants that you have awarded, what is your reputation, what is your post-publication peer review, anybody do a book review of your publications, do the exhibitions and performances, etc. This is the academic, very traditional. Then we also look at the capacity building part through the teaching and mentoring at the graduate and undergraduate in your own school. You can use the indicator in terms of the number and quality of experiential learning, the research opportunity for the students, survey of the student alumni, or even employer survey. These talk about the capacity building. Now that your department have a full program in this particular subdomain, mainly due to your contribution. Now that you have a full professor, you have a full research team, and therefore you're able to offer a new program that in the past is not feasible because you don't have the expertise. You build the capacity. That is the impact, capacity building. So, and again to the society. To the society, then you ask about the practice and policy, right? Are you invited to give expert opinions? Are you invited by the press to express opinion on certain social issues? To the extent that are you sitting in even government's body Are you invited to be an expert, to be an advisor, right? To influence certain policy thinking? Thinking about the society and the cultures, any media coverage of your research, are you invited, maybe in a talk show or in a debate, request for appearance, engagement at the public events, about the economy? Is there any revenue opportunity? Is there any saving to your government, to your community? You no longer spend that amount of financial resources. With your research outcome, is drastically reduce the financial commitment. Now, these are part and parcel of impact beyond academia. I'll look at, maybe in the interest of time, I'll come back to that.
No, you can take your time. We came here to listen to you, so we'll give you as much time as you need.
Okay, so sorry, I would let you manage my time.
No problem.
Now, talk about the pathway of research. How to lead on to that. How to lead on to the actual impact itself. We talk about the transfer of research result, right? How the research came into use beyond academia. Cooperation and interaction. Research work alongside and discuss and exchange knowledge with stakeholders beyond academia. I raise this field up here because I tell my students, when you craft out your research proposal, give some thought about that. Give some thought about how your results can be used. Who are your stakeholders? Who should provide you the input? And who will allow you to try on your new idea, your new concepts? Proficient people. Research-based knowledge, expertise, vision, and skills are conveyed by people who move and act beyond academia. Right? Who is your circle of influence? What kind of evidence we're talking about? We're talking about the contact, beneficiary input. I would have further detail. I'll skip that. Example, right? Just now, example, we say, yes, in terms of impact, it's about human understanding, knowledge. We have better knowledge. Economically, there's prosperity. Now, better decision making for those who need to make decisions. And now the practice development, train the researcher, go into the industry and practice. What are the evidence? And how are we going to go through what pathway to lead in on to the impact? If the impact is about human understanding, it's about knowledge, and it's about knowledge, then you need to transfer your research result, just now I mentioned. Therefore, you need to publish. You need to communicate your finding on paper, oral presentation, in your research community. You need to present it, transfer it, your knowledge. Just now we talked about cooperation and interaction. Then, what media you will make your understanding known. In terms of proficient people, right? It can be in education, it can be in teaching, it can be science communication professional. If your impact is more about economics and the wealth and the well-being of a society, then how you transfer it? Yes, I can publish it and I patent it and I license it. Or I allow this technology to be transferred from my university to the industry. Let them export it. Let them commercialize it. Publication, long-term collaboration, or even product development. So time doesn't allow me to go through that. There was a citation here. So in each of the impact, there are different pathways leading to realizing the impact itself. So Emirates have a framework of talking about how to evaluate research impact. So from their so-called framework, they talk about measuring knowledge, they talk about measuring the practice, they talk about measuring the teaching aspect. Does it go into the teaching? They talk about whether public policy has been implicated or implied. They talk about overall society. Now, that will actually give us an idea when you do your research proposal, when you think about your own research practice. Am I focusing on which particular impact? And in that particular impact, can I demonstrate it through these 5 areas? Because people may evaluate your impact through all these different dimensions. Also, you need to pay attention on the reach and also the significance of it. Right? How many people get impacted and how much they get impacted. And finally, I would like to talk about how we can generate impact. You already started doing that, or you've been doing that all along, is to establish the network and relationship.
Yes.
It's important, very important. You need to find out who in your community, locally, overseas, who are doing the same research or in the research area that you're doing. Right? Maybe even like them, follow them, subscribe to them. Whenever an article, a research paper is published, you follow them so that you know what was the latest findings, latest development in the area that you are researching in. At the same time, if time allows, best is always physical. There's a limit about virtual. But opportunity where you can go for a conference, locally, overseas, related to researcher of your area, that will definitely help you. Right? Acknowledge the expertise and active role played by research user in making impact happen. Right? Who will be your user? Who are the stakeholders? What role can they play? Yeah? The more active they are, the more you can engage them, the more you can find out what are the challenges they face and help you sometimes steer the research in the direction that will be eventually accepted by the community. Involve them in all stages of research. You don't just, at the end, this is my finding. Will your organization consider it? I'm doing some kind of, say e-payment. If I never engage the banking services, at the end I research, I finish, I pass it to the bank. Would you like to consider that? Too late to get the input, right? Deploy flexible knowledge exchange strategy which recognize the role that partners and collaborators may wish to play. Develop good understanding of policy and practice context and encourage users to bring knowledge and context to research. And that is all about collaboration. Don't work in silo. Commit your portfolio research activity to build up reputation with research user. Involve intermediaries and knowledge broker, research institution, right? Association is actually a very, very active broker because they connect different research in a different community. So be a member of different research association will also bring you into the community. Support space and time for collaborative reflection on research design and process, finding, and overall progress. Right? So, finally, we talk about the impact. You need to create your own pathway to impact. Identify who is the actor. How is your research relevant to them? How can you contribute to the policy discussion? Create the condition necessary for diverse, effective relationship. Gain science policy experience. Be honest, humble, open, resilient. This is hard. This is hard because every researcher will think, I'm the expert in that field. I know better than anybody else. If you are not humble, you may lose the good opportunity to learn from others. You may be blind spot in a blind spot. I've been looking at this topic for 5-6 years. Perhaps I don't know that there is a new perspective of looking at that.
Yes.
So be open, be humble.
Honest, open, humble, and resilient.
Now, okay, let me go to, I want to go to the side. Maybe I'll just, the visual pieces of research. Okay, it's not easy. Not directly attributable. And the causal effect is not easy. The pathway from research to impact is also very complex. It's not one single way. But just now we talk about even 30 minutes time space. I just mentioned a few. The impact of research is diverse in its nature and form, and is wider than which can be easily quantified. Right? There's no one way to articulate, measure, and evaluate research impact. More and more we find funding agencies use a branded approach. You show me your quantifiable, but at the same time, you also tell me the qualitative aspect, how you think you can impact. Use diverse and flexible set of indicators, including both qualitative and quantitative methods. One size will not fit all. And there's a shift in emphasis on research impact as valued by institution and other stakeholders, rather than the intrinsic academic merit of the research itself. There are principles, there are advisors, tools that help you improve the impact of your research. Researchers should play a leading role in describing the impacts of research work. You yourself should take that active role to articulate explicitly how you think your research will impact the society at large, and how you collaborate with partners, how you work with your stakeholders, the users. And I don't know whether we have university administrator around. If you have, then it is important, we play to you to provide that adequate support to ensure that the demands of assessment do not unduly diminish a researcher's ability to engage in other valuable activity. I understand sometimes you have pages and pages of form to fill in,
Yes.
level and level of approval.
Yes.
And then you stand in front of every single committee. One which is also not easy, I think Dr. J. Paul will talk about even the ethics committee, right? To talk about what you're doing. Every part can be a hurdle, can be a barrier that take away your valuable time. So if you are the administrator, do think of how you can help, particularly the young researchers, focus on the research and provide the support infrastructure that ease the barrier and facilitate sometimes the application and provide the needed support. Sometimes you can get some time off, sometimes it can be more flexible in terms of teaching assignment or teaching load. Allow the researcher to be out for a semester or go to the industry, right?
Yes.
To work with the industry to come up with fruitful, valuable research. We're so sorry that I've taken more time than
No.
allocated. Thank you for your attention.